Yeah, I just kind of wanted to dive in and like get a little bit of your background about around being like a functional podiatrist and explaining what that is so we can let everyone know.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So, my name is Dr. Emily. I'm a functional podiatrist, and I am the CEO and founder of Naboso, which are the products that you're referencing, just in case
Yeah.
people do not know. In addition, I am a human movement specialist, and my practice, I practice very part-time now because Naboso takes a lot of my effort. But when I do see patients, my practice is primarily built around chronic presentation. So it could be chronic pain, chronic movement dysfunction, chronic movement disorders. I do work a lot with MS, Parkinson's, stroke, spinal cord injuries, neuropathies, anything within the chronic neurological space. And then my goal, regardless of the patient, is I'm always thinking of how do I improve their movement quality and their movement longevity through sensory stimulation, connecting to the feet, optimizing foot strength, and then really understanding how the foot connects to the rest of our body because it's very connected to our pelvic floor, our hips, and then sensorily, it's obviously connected to our brain. So it has a huge effect on everything that we do.
Yeah, very true. I guess piggybacking off of that, can you talk a little bit about sensory stimulation and more details about like why it's so important?
Yes. So sensory is literally everything. And
Yeah.
perfectly aligned to my belief around sensory is I released a book a couple weeks ago called Sensory Sapiens. So this is my second book. It's available on Amazon. And it's really everything of what I would be sharing here is sensory stimulation could be what we take in from our visual field. It could be stimulation to our vestibular system in our ears, our joints. Every time we move, stand, shift, our joints are stimulated. There's what's called proprioceptors in our joints, and then there's touch. So our hands and our feet. And all of the sensory information is used to control our posture, to control your body's awareness of where your body is in space. And when it comes to movement and moving well and not tripping, falling, um, having joint pain, low back
Mm.
pain, just anything that relates to it, or being, an incredible athlete, reducing falls, the whole gamut
Yeah.
is really based off of your perception of where you are in space. This is very, very important. This is a sensory process, and this is something that's happening in the background. So you're not consciously thinking about, okay, where am I? Am I standing stable? This has to be in the background, which means it has to be finessed or perfected or fed into if you want to truly optimize the way that people move.
Yeah, and something I've really noticed around my own body awareness is that, like with MS, it really jumbles the messages.
Mm-hmm.
And, I have a background in fitness and I'm a personal trainer and I'm doing the corrective exercise certification and stuff now. And just learning more about those proprioceptor receptors and everything,
Mm-hmm.
it's very clear how, things get jumbled around body awareness with
Yep.
MS, but also how like you still have some hope and control in the situation. And
Yes.
like there's ways you can kind of work around it or work smarter.
Yeah. So what I tell patients, so let's say as if we speak specifically with MS, well, MS, Parkinson's, stroke, any of them kind of together, you could associate them, is all of this sensory information is, you could think of it like a dimmer switch in a sense,
Mm,
or sometimes I use the analogy of like noise, like volume on a radio or something like that, right? And when you have MS as an example, you can't hear the volume, right? Like
mm,
it's too
yeah.
dulled or like it's too dim on a dimmer switch, right? So understanding sensory stimulation such as Naboso's texture, vibration, resistance, so different things, compression, different things that turn up the light on the dimmer switch or turn the volume up actually helps your nervous system see or hear the stimulus, which then is, okay, now I can process this information. And then the other part of that is you want to be very specific. So the more specific that you are on the sensory stimulus, the better your nervous system will respond.
Okay. So that totally makes sense because like I have my socks here and like the little bumpies on the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing. Like I feel like when I am walking without the socks on, like I feel more cloppy and
Yeah.
like heavy and just not coordinated. But then with the socks and like the little bumps, I guess my brain is like, hey, your foot's here, like let's
Yep.
use it and use it properly. And then it helps me like just make the connection.
Absolutely. Yep. And it's, again, this is happening in the background, right? Where
Right.
theoretically we are through the different products and like the socks, when you walk around in the socks, we are trying to make your foot placement more conscious so you can connect to it enough that you can put it back in the background and maintain that. Right. So
Yeah.
it's a really interesting interplay. And we've actually done some MS related research studies with our products, with our insoles and our
Okay.
socks. And they've actually demonstrated changes in gait parameters. And then we've also seen movement confidence, which is
Mm,
purely subjective, right? Like, how do you feel in them is the same thing, right? And you
right.
say, okay, I feel my feet more, I feel more secure
Mm-hmm.
emotionally and kind of confidence wise about how you're moving. That's a huge indicator of fall reduction and things like that. Is you have to be confident, you have to trust in your movement so that you move well, right? If you're hesitant, when we become hesitant, we overcorrect, and then that's
Yeah.
actually where we fall and we get injured, right? So that's one of the greatest benefits that we try to say within our socks and insoles as well.
Yeah, there's actually been a few times recently, like I alternate between wearing them and not wearing them, and
Hmm.
I'll take walks with a friend. And, you know, the few times I haven't been wearing them, I like will almost roll my ankle
Hmm.
because I step funny, like just randomly. That hasn't happened with the socks. And so it's
Good,
nice to know the background and everything behind it.
good, excellent.
And the confidence piece is so important too, just to touch on, like, as someone that, you know, like experiences that when you were talking about it, I got goosebumps because
Hmm.
it's so important. And I feel like it, it plays more of a role than people even
Hmm.
think. And you don't realize like how low your confidence and stuff can dip, like during a relapse or when you're not
Hmm.
moving properly, and how that kind of carries over and like bleeds into so many other aspects of
Yeah.
life. And so, um, it's just amazing. Like, oh, I feel firmer on my feet.
Hmm.
And so now I'm more confident and I'm happier. So it's like
Yeah.
such a nice
Yes.
combo.
Yeah. It's very fascinating how when we move, it affects the emotional state as well. That's one of the reasons why I'm such a huge advocate of human movement and movement longevity. And we have to move
Same.
every day, is really the emotional mental health side of it. Is the more you can connect to your body, you connect to the movement. There's just so many things that are released as far as a positive association when you move. So, yeah, I'm hoping that what we're talking about then inspires people with MS to try it, to say, okay, I have been a little bit hesitant. I do have neuropathies in my feet. And when it comes to MS, 1 in 4 people with MS will get neuropathy at some
Yeah.
point during their diagnosis,
Right.
right? And then oftentimes foot drop can be associated with that as
Mm-hmm.
well. And although the Naboso products don't reverse the foot drop, right? It
Yeah.
is maintaining the confidence and the awareness of that foot placement despite having this foot drop. And that's important as well,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Yeah. And one thing actually, I'd like your opinion on, I didn't have this as part of my questions, but one thing that kind of delayed me from adopting like Naboso stuff earlier was I do get a lot of like tingles and stuff in my
Hmm.
feet, and I was just worried like, oh, we're stimulating them like sensory wise, is that going to make the tingles and stuff worse? Do you have any like thoughts on that? Or that has not been my
Yep.
experience and I've been really happy about it, but
Yeah.
just in case anyone else is like concerned about it.
Yeah. No, so that's a great question. So when it comes to neuropathies, and this isn't just MS related neuropathy, but all
Yeah, like
neuropathies, is that
diabetic.
there's, yeah, like diabetic,
Yeah.
chemo, autoimmune, right? There's many different
Mm-hmm.
types. So it's important to understand that there's 2 main categories of symptoms that you could experience when you have neuropathy. Is it could be what's called a positive symptom or a negative symptom. A positive symptom is what's called allodynia. So allodynia is is more of a pain response. So something that should not be painful is perceived as painful. Or it could be like stabbing pain, electricity,
Mm-hmm.
things are poking you, there's bugs crawling on you. Like there's all these different sensations, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Those fall under positive. And again, positive is this elevation or this heightened neurological response. The
Okay.
negative symptoms, which is what you're describing, because that's the tingling and
Oh,
numbness fall under negative symptoms,
there we
which
go.
negative means a void of a sensation, kind of, right? Is how you could think of it. So with Naboso, what we've seen is a benefit on both of them. If you have positive symptoms, such as allodynia, this heightened pain response, what the Naboso products can do, or any sensory stimulation like vibration, etc., is you can desensitize the nervous system. So that's a benefit. So then it's
Right.
not perceived as so painful. Or if you have a negative symptom, which is what you experience, the tingling and the numbness, you are actually bringing back an awareness through a very specific stimuli. So you can feel your feet again, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah,
So,
definitely.
and this is important, and I know you're in the fitness space, so this is important for people who work with clients who have neuropathy, is that a lot of people think if someone says they have neuropathy, that means they don't feel their feet. They have numbness. And it's just important that people understand that there's a myriad of symptoms
Hmm.
and there's many different nerves in our feet. Some are myelinated, some are free nerves. There's nociceptors, thermoceptors, proprioceptors, all these
Yeah,
different
all
nerve
the things.
endings. And some of them get disrupted with neuropathy, some of them don't. The first
Mm-hmm.
ones that typically get affected are the free nerves, which are nociceptors and thermoceptors. So this is where people will say, I don't feel hot water, right? Like
Yeah,
I don't feel the
the temperature.
temperature. That's a
Hmm.
different nerve ending than Naboso, which is a mechanoceptor. They're different types of
Yeah,
nerves or pain. So people could say, I don't feel like if I stepped on something sharp, I wouldn't feel that. That's a
yeah,
different nerve ending than vibration, right?
yeah.
So that I hope that gives people hope that they could still wake up these different nerve endings, because not all nerve endings are affected the same when someone is diagnosed with neuropathy.
Yeah, I mean, I think it definitely it gives me hope, and I'm sure other people are similar. I think that's one of the hardest parts about living with a chronic illness or chronic pain
Hmm.
is that the hope kind of, gets overshadowed
Hmm.
by, the unknowns or relapses or new symptoms or whatever. And it's nice to know like more details. And so it can kind of like restore some hope and empowerment
Hmm.
around it.
Yep.
Um, so we talked a little bit about the products, and I have some of them here, but I have some at my office too. Um, like I just kind of wanted to talk about the examples of sensory stimulation tools and
Hmm.
stuff, things like that. So I know you guys have the ball, which is what you
Yeah.
were showing. Um, but what else is there?
Yep. So we have a whole product line. We actually have over 40 products,
Oh wow.
and all of them feature this texture. And the texture is stimulating what's called 2-point discrimination, which is like Braille. So for the
Oh
listeners to
cool.
understand, we through the Naboso products, we are stimulating the same nerve that your brain uses to read Braille. So when you stimulate your finger.
Oh
So if I push on this neural ball with my finger and then I show you my finger, you can see the
yeah,
little
yeah,
indents, right? So it looks almost like little Braille dots. Okay. That can sometimes help people understand, like, okay, this is a very specific stimuli that's called 2-point discrimination. So
right.
the height, shape, and distance of this pyramid is very, very specific. This is not a nubby ball. These
Yeah.
are not little arbitrary nubs, right? That there is science, there's neuroscience behind the products.
Hmm.
The neural ball we showed you, you're actually showing it split into
Yeah.
two pieces, which is awesome. Why that was designed that way is that, let's say someone who has MS, that they feel comfortable, confident standing on a dome that's not going to move versus trying to stand on a ball that's rolling around,
Yeah.
right? Like we don't want that.
Right.
We also have our Neuro stick. So this is a stick that you can use as a massage stick. Great for the hand as well. All these things are really great for
Oh
hand stimulation
yeah.
as well. You showed a pair of our socks, which happens to be our toe sock,
Yes.
but this is a traditional sock. So it has the same
Nice.
texture, right? Texture the same. And
Yeah.
then we have a balance
Yeah.
board. You have another pair of our socks. Love it.
Yeah.
And so we have different colors and things like that. We have insoles, we have mats. So again, we have over 40 products, but I just want the listeners to know that they all have that same texture. And this is a patented texture designed to stimulate the braille nerve.
Yeah. Yeah. I've never really come across anything with the spikes and everything like so scientifically like
Yeah.
proven and designed, like some stuff just has like random, bumps and ridges and stuff, and that's
Mhm.
great, but it doesn't offer the same benefit that I personally have experienced with this,
Right.
and it sounds like other people have too.
Right. Yes.
Um,
And that's where that specificity comes in,
right.
especially with neurological disorders. If I could give a quick analogy on
Please.
that is vibration. I don't know if the listeners use vibration. I absolutely
Some people
love whole
do,
body
for sure.
vibration. Great. So I love whole body vibration. And what it can do for the nervous system, for circulation, for muscles, all that great stuff. But if you understand whole body vibration platforms, such as Power Plate is an example of one,
Hmm.
is there's a very specific frequency. So it typically vibrates at 35 hertz
Okay.
or 50 hertz. So it's very, very specific. And I don't want to confuse the listeners, but the more specific you can be with the stimulus, the better the response it will create to your nervous system. So there's a logic
Yeah.
behind the frequency, and there's a logic behind the texture that we're using, right?
Hmm. Yeah, for sure. It looks like we had a question from Katie. My sensory issues are primarily in my left foot, numbness, tingling, but also burning pain, pins, and needles.
Mhm.
If I had socks, would I wear them just on my left foot or both?
Yes, you would actually want to wear them in both. So the reason why you want to stimulate both feet is you get this contralateral stimulation to the nervous system, right? Everything feeds, the brain crosses, and we always say you always want to be addressing both. You want to stimulate both. Both will then help the other one become part of this postural movement story of what we're doing.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. Um, I think the only other question I had, but I feel free to like chat about more, anything you
Mhm.
feel is relevant for MS, specifically. But I just wanted to know like what types of exercises. Like I think you all do an amazing job of like I have the wobble board, it's just at my office.
Yep.
But and the ball like of providing info and like videos and tutorials about how to use them.
Yep.
But just since we can't watch them here, can you just go through some of the exercises and stuff and things you can do to make a difference
Yeah,
for balance and
absolutely.
coordination specifically?
Yes. So one thing that's important is, so we always want to wake up our feet before we do balancing, right? And balance stimulation for someone with MS, it needs to be done daily.
Yeah.
So whatever you do in the morning is super important, right? And I'm sure you recommend this to your clients as well, that what we do when we first wake up, we need to prime the nervous system and get it ready for being in gravity is really what it is, right? So how do we wake up our feet? I would definitely do the neural ball release. It's a 2-minute release with the neural ball. You split it into pieces. As you can see, there's a QR code that comes on all of them. Just scan it. It will take you to the videos that you were referencing. We're doing that release. Great. Can we then, and I have videos on this, find a nice stable base? I would do it barefoot. You could do it on a hardwood floor. You could do it on a Naboso mat, whatever you prefer. You could do it on a vibration platform if you want. But
Mm-hmm.
I have a video where I teach people how to find their stable base, their tripod. They lift their toes, spread them wide, and we just slightly rotate into our hips. And we're just kind of finding this better base. Okay. Then the trick to optimizing balance and moving in your feet is actually in your toes. And the way that your
Mm-hmm.
toes work is they act like an anchor. So they grip the ground. So you need to activate your toes, which actually connect into your pelvic floor, into your diaphragm. Yes.
Okay.
So I teach this through an exercise called forward lean, where forward lean, you would stand nice and tall. Imagine that you're stiff as a board. And then ever so slightly, so you're staying stiff as a board, ever so slightly, you're just going to lean your body forward. And then you come back into a vertical position. Of course, we're on our feet, right? So we're
Yeah.
imagining we're doing this on our feet, right? We're slightly leaning forward, not too far. This is not something that should shift your balance and your stability and make you scared you're going to fall. It's a subtle sway, right? Just
Mm.
boop, subtle sway. As you subtly shift forward or sway, lean, your toes are going to anchor or
Yeah.
reflexively grip the ground.
Yeah.
Okay. This is a reflex within your nervous system. So I actually don't have to cue anything with your feet. You are just slightly leaning and the action is going to happen into your feet. Okay. I need people to connect to this, to wake up their feet this way. Do it 5, 6 times. Great. Every time you slightly sway forward, you're just going to exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale. We're just slightly doing it. Beautiful. Now, can you not sway? Do that same grip the ground action and then shift your weight to one leg. And could you kickstand, right? So slightly lift the heel of one, or could you go into a full single leg stance? You can even lightly hold the counter if you would like, and then come back down, right? Grip the ground again, shift to your left leg, stand on one leg. When it comes to movement longevity, we have to maintain the capacity to stand on one leg for 10 seconds. And that's just what we want is our little balance test for all the listeners is, can you stand on one leg for 10 seconds, right? That's the goal. And then we're doing this as a movement. Okay. What I then like to do is you take the ball. I have this on my YouTube as well. It's called a ball between heel raise. If you literally just search that on YouTube, you will find it. But ball between heel, you put
Okay.
it between your heels and then you do a calf raise with the ball
Oh.
between your heel. Okay.
Yeah.
Do that 10 times. You can hold onto the counter as well, right? Every time you come up, you're squeezing the ball between your heels 10 times, ball down. You're ready for your day. That's what I want is your prep. And then, of course, there's a lot more programming, things with the kinesis board that you said you have, and it can kind of
Yeah.
go forward. But what we do in the morning to wake up the nervous system, to wake up our feet, and our core is very, very important.
Yeah. No, definitely. And it sets such a tone for the rest of the day, is what I found.
Absolutely. Yep. Yep. And then if people happen to stand on their feet for
Mhm.
work or the nervous system starts to get a little bit tired throughout the day, maybe we do this little posture check, set your base, forward lean, ball between the heels, maybe a few balances, and you could do this, you know, every 4 hours throughout the day. However it is, whatever works for you and your lifestyle to connect to it. And then I for sure have people do it before they do their workout.
Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely when I do it. And I've noticed, I just feel more planted when I'm doing like squats or anything
Yep.
that requires me to be on my feet, which is great.
Yep.
Because especially with the, you know, silly messages that sometimes mess up my body
Yep.
awareness, it's hard to like, always know where your body and stuff is, and the doing them before the workout just always really
Mhm.
helps.
Yep. Right.
Um, I had another question, but I forgot. Oh, I was just going to comment on what you just went through because I like how easy it is and
Mm-hmm.
how simple. Because, like, I think sometimes something else that happens with chronic illnesses is that, the message is, and the things you need to do, there's so many things and everything takes so long.
Mm-hmm.
And it just can be really overwhelming when you're dealing with a body that doesn't totally, like go with the flow.
Yep.
And
Yep.
so it's nice that the exercises and stuff are so short and like
Mm-hmm.
something that you can just kind of like do in the morning and
Mm-hmm.
then recognize and like be aware of how you feel. And so like later in the day if you need to check in
Mm-hmm.
and maybe redo the exercises or, whatnot. So
Yeah. Well, yeah. So what I had shared, and that, I mean, that's exactly why I made it the way it is.
yeah,
Is that
very smart.
I want it to be easy. I want it to be something that does not take a lot of time. You could do this while brushing your teeth, while putting on your makeup, while making your
Hmm.
coffee. So I'm trying to make it so that it is integrated with whatever you do right now in the morning. I don't know what everyone's habit is in the morning, but what do you do in the first 15 minutes of your day, right?
Yeah.
Is actually really, really important. And, maybe you're looking at Instagram. I don't
Yeah,
know.
right.
But do it while doing whatever it is that you normally do,
Yeah,
right? So that it becomes a part of your lifestyle. The things that I recommend in this little 5-minute routine, it literally takes 5 minutes to do what I had
yeah,
said, probably less. This 5-minute routine has to truly be part of your lifestyle, right?
yeah.
And I mean, I've been releasing my feet, not with the Neuroball because it didn't exist at that time, but I've been releasing my feet for literally 15 years. Every morning,
Wow.
it started with golf balls, and I would put a
Mm,
golf ball in front of my bathroom sink. And whenever I travel a lot for work.
yeah.
I pack the golf ball. It is always in my bag. I am doing it in the hotel. I don't care what country I'm in.
Mm,
There are some foot release products in my hotel, and that's been for the past 15 years. I learned it from when I was in podiatry school. I learned it from this woman. Her name is Yamana, and she is Yamana Body Rolling. It's a soft tissue release program. She's in New York City,
cool.
and it's a really great method. You might actually really like it, or people with MS, because it's a gentler
Yeah.
fascial body work
No,
method. It's not these
it's,
hard, stiff, painful foam rollers and things like that.
yeah.
But I learned it from her again 15 years ago. I was in school, and then I started doing it. So it's probably actually longer than 15 years, 2006. Oh my God, it's almost 20 years. God,
Yeah, no, yeah.
insane. That is
It's
insane.
crazy how the
Okay.
time goes.
Wow. Okay. So actually almost 20 years that I've been doing it, which means it is as ingrained in my habit. I literally have to do this. Like I have to brush my teeth. I cannot
Yeah,
go to sleep without brushing my teeth, right?
right.
So I literally stack them.
Yeah.
And it's that same thing that I'm trying to create for all of the listeners. It doesn't have to be complicated and long.
No, I mean, because that's not sustainable. And,
Yeah.
MS is a chronic thing.
Mhm.
Like you said, you've been used to doing this for 20 years. I've had MS for almost 20
Mhm.
years, and it does just kind of become part of your life. And
Yeah.
whatever habits do daily are what's going to be repeated. And so you might
Yeah.
as well do something little and like stack it with something you're already doing to help improve your life.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much for chatting today. I really appreciate you taking the time and letting everyone know about all the fun stuff that you all are doing. I'm so
Absolutely.
happy that you
Yeah.
exist.
Yeah, thank you. If people are interested in trying them, the website is naboso.com. So Naboso.com, Naboso. That's actually a Czech word that means barefoot. So it's
Oh, cool.
fun
I was
fact
going
for
to ask about the
people.
name.
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah. The products are on Amazon as well. If people are curious about which ones to try, I mean, these are for sure the two that I would say is the sock. You had a
Hmm.
couple different versions
And
of
then the
it,
ball.
but the socks you can walk around with it just because of the movement side of MS. I would for sure do this, but then wake up the feet every day, right?
Yeah.
Can we start to build a habit of wearing the socks, releasing our feet? And then from there, kind of spider web out based off of the comfort level of the individual. So yeah, and then if anyone has any questions, please reach out via Instagram, whether it's my account, it's Naboso's. We have great customer service. There's
You
a
do.
chat on the site if people have questions. And then we have a lot of testimonials of people who have MS who use our products. And we have research studies as well. So any of that information, people can just reach out and we'll share that.
Awesome, thank you. And
Mhm.
one final thing, if you are shopping on the website and you want, use the code SAMTLC for the Lift Collective. So SAMTLC for 10% off
Yes.
to get a little discount for yourself too.
Yay.
Thank you
Thank you.
again so much. I hope you have a
Thank
great day.
thank you. You as well.
Thanks.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.